powerful nation. Some think he is a myth. Some believe he is the chosen one, who will bring balance to a world at war. And some will stop at nothing to destroy him.
Welcome, everybody. I hope you all have gotten a lot out of the previous broadcast with Brother Yusuf L. Today, you are listening to Moorish Talk Live 100 on the High Frequency Radio Network. And this evening, we'll be dealing with part one. In the beginning, God created universal law, then man and woman. Okay, let's take a look at that title there for a minute. In the beginning, the word God was put there by me in all capital letters for a specific purpose, and we're going to get down to that. And then man and woman was all in lowercase. We're going to get to that in a minute. But this evening, we want to let you know we're going to make an attempt to uncover some things so that you can have some clarity of what's going on this rock upon which we all stand. The universe, what's going on there, and all of these things we want to touch on today in relationship to law. And we're going to deal with that. This is part one. This is a very, very broad subject, and there's no way for me to put it all in perspective for you to understand in one network. I can't do that. I have to spread it out because I have a tendency to make things as simple as I possibly can because everybody don't have a college degree. Okay? So we want to make sure that we cover as many people as we can. Okay, we're going to start with the fact that in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Okay, in the beginning. Now, if we look at the fact that that the ancient African records say that in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth, that'll have to involve motion. You have to set in motion. But when we look at what we are reading and look at the reality that we are living, then we're going to have to come to conclusions based on what we are reading and what we are seeing, and then go backwards in time to get closer and closer to the reality of the truth. Now, we have to keep in mind that the powers that be, they do not want you to know the truth. Because if you know the truth, that sets you free. They don't want you to be free if they cannot profit and benefit from your freedom. Let's clearly understand that. Okay, now I want to come to you today with a little bit of information from a book called The Matrix 4. And that book was written by a woman named Sophia Stewart. And I want to read a little, just a small portion of what I ran into that I recognized. There's the Matrix 4 by Sophia Stewart, and then there's the Third Eye, where it all begins by Sophia Stewart. We're gonna get into these later on. there's another book that I would like to recommend that you get a hold of, and the title of this book is The Ancient Future by Wayne Chandler. The Ancient Future by Wayne Chandler. Okay, so make sure we get these books here. Now, this is what it says here. The evolution of the earth was fulfilled in the realization of the prophecy. The polarization of the sun's gravitational field and attraction upon it increased, causing its rotational axis to shift. As a result, the planet began to rotate in the opposite direction, counterclockwise, causing it to move closer to the sun. The sun now rose in the west and set in the east. This altered rotation decreased the Earth's gravitational pull, changing it both in polarity and density, which also slowed the aging process. Before the polar shift, man's greatest life expectancy was 120 years, but now it has been extended to 900 years. All right. Now, that's quite amazing. And the reason I wanted to bring you information is there's a ton of information available to you, especially in the ancient astrological books and such, that you can get a hold of, which will describe for you this type of scenario, especially in the book Ancient Future. We have scientists that have done experiments where they have found out that the biosphere and the ionosphere and the time period during the time when the Earth rotated in another direction, because it was trying to find out why was it possible for the dinosaurs and stuff to grow so big and the plant life to grow so big in the insect kingdom to be so large. They are conducting these experiments today where they have taken small places and incubated this particular type of situation and have put it in motion, and they are discovering that the plant life inside this environment where this experiment is going on, the plant and animal life that they have put in there, they put in small insects, nothing that is ferocious, but they have put certain animals and plant life and stuff inside of this environment, and in so doing, they have discovered that the same effects that occurred in prehistoric times inside of this environment. That is quite amazing. And we know, based on the research that I've done on Wayne Chandler's work involving this situation, he said that the Earth originally rotated in a different direction. So it is consistent with what the scientists have found out. Also, the water, and we're going to get to that, was high in vitamins, which prolong life, and which is consistent with the old, or what we recognize the old ancient African records of what you consider to be your Bible, or what's been told to you that it is a Bible. It is consistent with that as well. I was fortunate to the other day, I had a meeting to go to. And when I got to my destination, they had the television going. And there was a broadcast on there about these secret files. And keep in mind, this is stuff that the government of the United States knows about. What they don't want you to realize and come to the realization of is the fact that we live on a rock that is unstable. Dr. Delbert Blair has been bringing this information out for the longest, and it's so fantastic it borders on the borderline of science fiction. But nevertheless, I'm here to tell you that there is too much supporting evidence to deny its authenticity. Okay? Now, on this broadcast, it was talking about these two divers that got on a boat and went out into the ocean, and the guy that owned the boat told them, say, well, look, you guys can get on the boat. We'll take you out. You can do the scuba diving, and for us bringing you out here and giving you this free ride, you don't have to pay us anything. The only thing that we ask you to do is when you do your dive on the old wreck around the reef, bring up some lobster for us. Okay, so they agreed. So the two divers went down. When they got down there, everything was fine. Visibility was perfect. And I mean, it was beautiful down there. But what struck me is one of the divers said all of a sudden things got murky. All of a sudden, the temperature in the water changed drastically. And then they heard a sound that they had never heard on Earth before. They was looking around, trying to figure out where it was coming from, and all of a sudden, the water began to become turbulent, and it began to become red. The diver that gave his testimony, because he was looking around for his friend, and he couldn't see nothing but red, which meant there's blood in the water. And everything in the immediate vicinity as far as animal life has disappeared. Okay. And he said that in order for him to survive, he couldn't find his friend. He didn't see anything. So he was able to surface and get out of the water, but his experience was so dramatic he could barely explain it because he had nothing to compare it to. He said something brushed by him. It actually physically brushed him. But by the time he turned around, it was nothing that he could see that would resemble anything that his brain knew. And then immediately after that, the water began to turn red and all of this stuff, and he was able to come up. And he began to tell his story, or try to tell his story, but it was so fantastic. And they searched and searched and searched, and they found bits and pieces of his partner that had went down with him. And he got a photographer who came in, which was a reporter, and began to take down his story because he had told it to a lot of the media. But what he discovered is that nobody in the media ran the story. It was like it was a giant blackout on everything that he had to say about what he had actually experienced underwater. But he had one guy that came in, listened to what he had to say, wrote down what he had to say, and began to make an attempt to put the information out. However, he said that he got a phone call from somebody that told him, you need to shut your mouth and get out of town. And everything that he had previously said, he needed to forget about it. And he said the people on the other end of the line began to call his family members' name, and the only people that knew that was the immediate family. He began to describe stuff, called names, mothers, fathers, grandfathers, locations, addresses, phone numbers, all of this stuff. So he come to the realization that something was going on. He didn't know what it was, but he knew that somebody knew what he experienced, and he wanted it shut down. They wanted him to be quiet about this thing. Then later on, first let me tell you this. They showed photographs of bits and pieces of his friend that had been attacked on the water. It brought up the skin diving bits and pieces of that, the suit that he had on, and they brought up this tank which had been scuffed up and scarred up and clawed up. and there was this giant claw from this animal that was shaped like a hook, like a talon of a big eagle, a big raptor. Huge. This thing was over 9 inches long for a talon, attached to a beast, and they tried to estimate the size of this thing, and they said it had to be approximately 40 feet in length, weighing thousands and thousands of pounds. But that was the end of that. However, later on, there was a drilling rig off the coast of California in the Pacific, and they were wildcatting for oil. And when they drilled down, they was in very, very deep waters, but they hit this sediment called salarium. And this stuff here, this particular rock, dates back over 400 million years. And they drilled through it, but when they drilled through it, it opened up into a cavern, because they know that there are giant openings down there, some of them as large as football fields and stuff inside the earth. And an opening came up. Shortly after that, a vessel was leaving the platform headed in, and it was rammed by something. Everybody that went in the water got killed. They did not recover anybody, and the ship sustained unrepairable damage from this. A distress signal had been sent, and the men was talking about, we've been rammed, and they hit the water. That was the end of the transmission from this thing. And this particular incident hit the media, but it was described differently, just like the first situation was described differently. But later on, another vessel was in the water, dragging with a giant net, and they came up with a creature. And this particular creature had one of his claws missing. But now let's take a look at what happened. Prior to this incident happening, immediately after the incident happened with the boat leaving the platform of the oil rig, down there, their mission is to seek whatever it is down there. They took the original claw from this creature and let the dolphins pick up the scent, and they went down under the ocean. Their job was to inject this harpoon into this creature, and with a charge, destructive charge, very, very powerful charge that would pretty much destroy anything from a single dolphin. But they released 15 dolphins with this thing on them. They went down there, but only 9 dolphins came up and gave them the signal that the mission was successful. We have found the target. It has been destroyed. It had to be a heck of a fight, because they sent 15 dolphins and 9, but 9 come back, so that means everybody else got smoked by whatever it was down there. So they was able to drag this thing up, and they pull up this creature that had been extinct for over 400 million years. And but what had happened, this oil rig had opened up what exists inside of the earth. That's been down there all along, and is still down there. This creature here reminds me of the description inside the ancient African records of what they're calling Leviathan, and very, very huge and impregnable creature that resides inside the waters. A lot of us think dinosaurs and stuff are extinct, but they are not extinct. They are there. They have been there, and they continue to be there. Right here off the coast of Florida, I was watching the news, and a dolphin emerged right here in our river, the St. Johns River. This is an albino dolphin, and they say this thing had been extinct for over 500 million years, but nevertheless, they were there. And what we don't understand, a lot of us have not considered, is there are caves inside the planet. The earth is put together through plates move. There are openings that have been caves that have been opened hundreds of thousands of years ago, and these creatures have went in. But as the plates move and cover up the hole, and not to be uncovered again for hundreds of thousands of years, the life and death process continues in this area. And keep in mind, this is prior to the Earth's rotation going in the opposite direction. So the vitamin intake and the plant life that is down there is extremely high in vitamin intake. To give you an example of what I'm talking about is they was trying to figure out why certain people die at certain ages and certain other people on the earth are living longer and longer and longer. And they began to conduct an experiment on the women in Tibet. They discovered that some of these people smoked tobacco. There were women who never had a menstrual cycle, still bearing children, and was as strong as a man. But they realized and recognized that what these people have been doing in these altitudes and stuff is going down into the mountainous regions and going down into underground caverns and was getting water prehistoric. And this is the water that they was drinking, which completely slowed down the aging process and sustained life and gave them exorbitant strength. And they was able to find this thing out. Now, this information is what the government does not. They don't want you to know this right here. They do not want you to know that you live on an unstable planet. Dr. David Blair told us about these sea serpents in Asia that was devastating shipping lanes. And they was actually firing rockets and loaded with nuclear warhead, and it wasn't putting a dent in these creatures. Very, very powerful creatures. And these are ancient things that existed upon this planet. And but this information was covered up. Also, right there in with if you listen to Dr. Sabi, that has the Ocean Institute in Honduras. He has the healing pools, and the pools are piping water in, ancient waters in, that has a healing effect on the body just upon stepping in the water. There have been people inside the United States that have been given up by American doctors that have went to the Ocean Institute inside of these waters and stepped inside these waters, and the plant life and stuff that he's growing is rooted and grounded in this water, and they are slowing down the aging process and sending it in reverse. The human body is made out of cells, and in order for you to feed the body, you're going to have to feed the cells. Everything that you put in your mouth is going to have to be chewed until it turns into a liquid in order to feed the cells. Now, in order for the powers that be to diffuse the Earth's population or decrease the Earth's population, this kind of information has to be covered up. They are looking at the situation like, well, we have too many people on the planet, so we got to come out with these new diseases. The latest one is the Ebola thing going on now, and everybody's up in arms about that. You know, it's the same thing they've been doing for years and years and years. However, when we start becoming knowledgeable about what has actually took place, what was written about, and what we see, and when we pick up the information and do the comparisons and do the research and put this thing together, we have a more realistic picture emerging in our mind. Now, let's look at the law part. All law comes from the original creator. All what we have now is based in what we are considering to be natural law. The law of motion, the law of the... Now, these laws, people can take and manipulate certain things. We can extend the curve. You go around the curve mark 30 miles an hour. We can extend that curve outward to accommodate a 60-mile-an-hour vehicle going around what's marked as 30 miles an hour. That's manipulation. Not reality, but it's manipulation. However, when we look at law from that perspective, in the beginning, God created law. Everything is governed by law. The plant life and animal life in prehistoric times had to be that way because of the laws that were put in effect. The rotation of the planet. And what we have to understand also, we're looking at this thing from a perspective of, well, some freak accident or something occurred. But I'm here to tell you that your creator that created this system have everything designed and everything is on time. There is no way humanly possible for you to continue to create acts of what's called sin and live in prosperity without hardship. That's impossible. It's not designed that way, and that law is going to remain in effect. Okay. Most of us do not understand the concept of the word God. And I would like to recommend that you go to Dr. Williams, Walter Williams, and examine his work. You can just type him right there in YouTube, and Walter Williams will come up and deal with that for you. That's the best way, in my opinion, to learn, get the download on that, the God concept. We don't understand that. We are looking at God from so many different angles, but we have to understand that we are talking about in my opinion, more than one individual. And I can only use the words that we are familiar with so you can understand what I'm trying to tell you. There is a creator. However, everything that is righteous that we are doing is pretty much a reflection of their existence. And when I say and say him, I say their existence and what they have put into motion on the planet. There are still pockets and places on this planet where the original natural soil and water still exist, created in the beginning by the creator and sustainer of all life forces and universes throughout the air, wherever air exists or wherever it doesn't exist. It does have a creator. And so the only thing that we have to look at here on this work, Rock, as people of African descent, is we have to look at us and walk back down through time and see if it's anybody else or any other species or race of people that preceded us. Because the only thing that we're finding on this rock, everywhere we go, artifacts and remnants and skeletal remains of the ancient Africa. So what we have other people attempting to do on the planet is trying to give their rendition of what's considered to be ancient. And keep in mind that whoever it is that writes his story controls his story. So it is best for us to examine our story, our ancient records, and that goes all the way across the planet, throughout the universe, to other planets. We just looked at some photographs. Some sisters sent me some photographs and stuff that they've been holding and trying to keep under wraps about hieroglyphics and stuff on other planets out there. Well, that's not new. If we look at the works of the so-called psychics and stuff, they can give us a lot of inside information. People that are elderly people that live in island regions, and especially down in the Amazon and places like that, in the deepest regions of Mexico, in various places, you can get a lot of information. In Cuba and also you can get a lot of information that will coincide with the ancient records. Tibet, Antarctica, ancient places in Australia, all of this can reveal to you a tremendous amount of information. But let's go back to the law. Now, in the beginning, God created law, and then man and woman. Okay. Now, the law was created to govern and to benefit man, woman. Man, woman. But today we have what? We have corporations, we have organizations, we have businesses, we have clubs, we have groups, and all of this different type of stuff. But when we keep in mind that law was created to govern and to benefit a man and a woman, let us see how that fares when we are dealing with the powers that be as a man or a woman. We have what's called common law. Because, see, everything comes from someplace. And when we realize that, then we can get a lot done just by that alone. If someone says, well, we have the UCC1. Okay, well, UCC1, we can do this, we can do that, we can do this, we can do that. My question is, let me look at ancient records and see when God put man under it and when he created the law about it to govern him. Because if he didn't, we're going to have to really, really take a look at that baby to determine whether or not it's designed to benefit or sustain or aid a man or a woman. If I'm going to deal with a debt collector, if I'm going to deal with a court, if I'm going to deal with a government agency, if I'm going to deal with an organization, a group, a club, a glee club, a Boy Scout, or whatever you want to call it, I have to deal with that from a man perspective. If you're a woman, from a woman's perspective. Not women, not men. We don't deal with none of that. We're dealing with a man or a woman. And when we look at that from that perspective, then the only thing that we need to know from the powers that be is, could you please provide for me proof of claim with my Creator, who gave dominion over the earth and everything in it, where he put you in charge of governing something from somewhere. Show me where what you got going is connected to the natural laws that was put in place to govern a man or a woman. And this is the way that I look at this stuff. If I'm dealing with a mortgage company, the first thing that I need to know, because I know the English language, I know that the difference between a proper noun or an improper noun, and if you are addressing me as something other than a man or a woman, then the first thing that I need to do is I need to send you some correspondence so we get that part straightened out. That's step one. Who knows? You might have made a mistake. You might have overlooked it, or you might have forgot what your third grade grammar teacher taught you and me. Line that I need to deal with. Let's deal with that first. Now, if you say, well, okay, you got a point. I did make a mistake. So I'm going to now officially address you as a man or a woman and as a proper noun. Okay, well, so we got that part straight now. So the only thing we got to do now is find out how much money I owe the man who's claiming that I owe him a debt. If you're the IRS, then I need to speak to Mr. or Mrs. James or Margaret or Catherine or Bob or Melvin or Janice or IRS. You know, I just need your first name, and I got your last name. You IRS. I need your first and last name so I can go ahead and pay you. If you file something against me in the court, okay. Well, who is it that I owe to pay? Where's Mr. or Mrs. Margaret, Amos, Jack, IRS? You know, so I can go ahead and straighten it out. You see. So if we look at this thing from an ancient perspective and how it was designed and how it was created and when it was created and who it was designed to benefit, then we can turn around and look at what we have today that's calling itself civilization. Now, that is a major paradox for me. We have people say, well, you know, they're over in the jungles of Asia, the jungles of India, and the South America. I can't wait till I get back to civilization. What are you talking about? You just left civilization. You're ready to come into the most uncivilized region in the world. They're killing and robbing and murder and lying and stealing and all this right here. You talking about you can't wait to get back to civilization. You need to go look at the word again because you got it backwards. You just left all the civilized people. They don't wear no shoes. They don't have no need for no bras and no panties. They're natural. They are at one with nature. But over here, we almost drove the poor buffalo into extinction. We killed so many eagles till they had to put a law to stop people from shooting them anymore. They were telling lies. They had them in the paper why the giant eagle was kidnapping our children and flying away with them. No, they wasn't. Them poor birds, every time they saw you, they were looking for a hole to get away from you because you the most uncivilized thing they ever experienced in the history of their existence. What's wrong with you? I'm bringing this out because I want you to pay attention to a lot of the stuff that we take for granted. You know, we just assume, you know, somebody asked the average individual, well, you going back to civilization? Oh, man, I can't wait to get back to civilization. Really? Oh, Lord. We got tribes of people in certain regions where people that we know of today in our inner cities and suburbs and stuff has never been. And these people living in peace. They do not take from the land but what they can use. That's all they need. They don't need a Cadillac. They don't need a brand new pair of Bruno Mali. They don't need no rims on the. They don't need none of that. And these people are enjoying life. They're enjoying the sunshine and the memories and the love of their family members and stuff. And that's not interrupted until they see one of us coming. And they say, oh, my goodness, heck, these people got all this equipment. They got cameras and lights and all this iron and metal and glass. And what kind of, none of this stuff is nothing we resemble. And then next thing we know, then natives begin to die. It was a time where there were people that were on the shorelines of and in down into the interior of South America, and the European ships come in, and the people, the natives on the land, they act like they didn't see them. And as they come through and they spied out the land and all of this stuff, the ships turned around and went back where they come from. But they returned with war-making materials and guns and knives and swords and stuff. But when they got on the land, they couldn't find the natives. So they went and followed all the tracks, went through the bush, went all down into the interior, went all up in the mountains region. They seen absolutely no evidence whatsoever of where these people had gone. They went in the caves. They went in the underground cave. They went everywhere they could possibly find, looking for this large village of people that numbered into the hundreds, and they couldn't find them nowhere. And it remained a mystery. But remember, I told you that the earth is hollow. Everything on it and everything in it, including you, is hollow. And they are right off the banks of the river where they seen these people at are underground holes in the walls of the interior of the earth. And when these people seen death, hell, and the grave coming, those people took their children, their families, their animals, and everything that they had, and left the land, went under the water, and that's where they remained, inside the interior and walls of the earth. We have whole civilizations down there that have been there for thousands of years, just like in the area that's known as Malta, where we had school children went out into the area, and they were on a tour, a field trip, so to speak. But all of a sudden, these giants came out of a cave, got the woman and all the children, and took them back into the cave, and they was never seen or heard from again. And I know some of you probably have heard that story, but there are places on this planet, and there are things there from the past we have yet to duplicate in any kind of way. There are flying vessels that have not been duplicated by NASA or the United States military. That's there. There are walls with lights on the walls inside of caves, ancient caves, that are still lit up with flying vessels down there inside these caves and stuff that the nobody pretty much knows about. And how these things operate and stuff, this stuff is being hidden from the people. This information here coincides, the materials and stuff that I'm talking about and the actions of the people and stuff that I'm talking about coincides with the original laws, the ancient laws, the ancient original laws. When we study ancient original laws and we come to the realization of how they was put together and how they was designed to benefit man, that will create an entirely different phenomenon for us. That will give us something, the likes of which we never experienced before. They did had a broadcast on television once, and I know, and this was back in the day, I know doggone well they didn't mean to let this out. Some kind of way they ran it. When they ran that little quick segment, they hurried and took it off of TV. But it came on where this Caucasian gentleman was interviewing a native. He was standing up there, and this native, he looks like he came from South America. I can't be sure, but he didn't have on any shirt, and he didn't have on any shorts. He had on this some kind of little tunic around his waist. And the man says, I cannot extend my hand and touch this individual because if I touch him, I will be electrocuted. Then this guy took a piece of paper, balled it up, put it on the floor, held his hand over it, and transferred the energy from this body onto that piece of paper and set it on fire right there before you see it, and they cut it off. So somebody made a mistake. Whoever put it on, I know they got fired because this one's supposed to get out. We don't want you with that kind of power. You had to be arrested, and we can't arrest you with that kind of power. But nevertheless, it is available to you. And what I attempt to do is I attempt to give people this information a little bit at a time and point them into the right direction so they can do the research so that they can actually get a hold of it. But when you get a hold of this, you also have to be responsible with it. You know, and in a lot of cases, I think there's some people that I can't give that information to because they will use it unwisely and will cause more harm than good. So there's some things that, in my opinion, I think need to be kept quiet, in my opinion. Now, we have about 11 minutes, and after the first hour, I'm going to open up the line. If somebody have a question or comment, you can go ahead and raise your hand, and we'll answer that for you. And I'll take a little quick break. When we come back, then we will resume what we're talking about here. Y'all hold on.
Let's use a little common sense for a moment. You want to start a business of your own. You need money to do so. Let's get out of debt first. Get rid of the student loan, mortgage, taxes, and all other contracts that bind you. Then go to www.newdebtelimination.com. Give me a call, Tarhaka, 904-303-9061. Before you make any donations about anything, let's find out where you at and let's go to work eliminating this debt. Contact me, Tarhaka53@hotmail.com, or call me, 904-303-9061, before 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Peace.
Okay, we're going to area code 540. Tell us who you are, where you're calling from, and what's your question.
Brother Tarhaka, this is Brother George up on Virginia.
Hey, George.
I'm loving where you're going with this topic, and that's all I wanted to say. I might interject a few things. I have found exactly what Brother Tarhaka is talking in our research. Things like folks might commonly know them as Bigfoot.
Oh, yeah.
Stop and research that one topic alone, folks, and look at how many sightings and how many folks have claimed to have Bigfoot encounters. And then you might want to ask yourself, if they put it out there publicly, who would be liable for that stuff? Like one other example was one woman I heard used to hang with brothers on Skype, and there was a woman can't come with her name. Anyhow, long story short, a deer hit her car. She filed it in with the Department of Game or the state. I forget the exact details to the story, but the way she looked at it was, they charging us to go out and hunt the deer. They going to pay for that deer that they're claiming ownership over that hit my car. And then if they didn't fix her car and the whole line. Yeah, so anyway, I just wanted to jump on and say, yeah, that there's a lot of strong evidence to where you're going on today's topic, brother.
Well, I certainly appreciate you calling in. I had never heard that one before, but that does make sense, and it coincides with the laws. If you're claiming to own something, and then that means that you're liable if something goes wrong.
Right, I know it worked. I'll look for her name and get that back with y'all. The information's out there. I can't recall her name. I know Brother Boris that Brother Paul David had on. I know he would know it for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Well, brother, I certainly appreciate
you. A lot of topics a lot of times. Oh, and I believe I caught you mentioning something about some birds. Would you be referencing the Thunderbirds?
No, we ain't got to that yet. We're going to get to the Thunderbird later.
Okay. I'm going to drop back to listen in, man. You keep doing what you're doing, Brother Tarhaka. I love y'all here at High Frequency. Folks, listen over and over and over again. If you don't get it the first time, or even if you think you do, listen to it again, because you're going to pick up something that you didn't catch the first or second or third time. On that note, peace out. I'm on the background just listening. Loving it.
All right, then. Peace, man. Okay, we're going over here to area code 609. 609, come on in. You're live on the air. You with us, 609? Okay, 609, just listen. All right. Okay, it's called drop. Okay. All right, now let's get back to what we were discussing. We're going to look at the law perspective, and the reason I gave you the background information on this stuff, and I'd like to recommend to you, for those of you who are listening for the first time, if you have not heard me mention this book, I think you need to get this book. We'll 609 and come back. Hold on. Come on, 609.
Yes, how's it going? I was just calling in reference to the guy, you said the Native American. I actually seen a video of a Chinese guy that lit a piece of newspaper on fire with his cheek, and it's actually on YouTube, and y'all can check it out. It's very powerful. And he talks about how he learned everything from his master, and that the key was meditation.
Uh-huh.
And I just wanted to comment on that, on what you referenced. You know, it's on YouTube, and other people could look up the video. But this is of an Asian, Oriental person.
Okay.
And he actually demonstrates it. He lights a piece of paper on fire with his bare hands.
Okay. Now, can you tell us what video to go to? Do you remember?
You can just look up "man lights fire with hand," and it should come up.
Okay.
I don't remember the actual name. It's been a couple of years, and I just saw it recently again. But I just typed in to find it again recently. I just typed in "man lights fire with hand," and you'll see an Asian guy. And there's a little documentary about it, how he's a healer, and he uses his chi to send electricity to other people. His energy to other people to maybe try to see what's going on, what's wrong with them.
Okay.
And it's a very powerful little documentary.
Okay, now this thing here that you're talking about, I want to make sure that it's the same one, because I know the one that I've seen. This guy here looked like he's from South American rainforest. Now, the video that you're talking about, did it look like it was in black and white? Did it look like it was produced in the 60s?
It looked like it was produced maybe in like the 80s.
In the 80s? Okay.
Early 90s, 80s and 90s. And it was this guy. They was in Asia somewhere.
Okay, all right. Now this right here is two different ones then. Okay, all right. Well, I certainly appreciate you calling in and telling us that you got.
And I appreciate you too.
All right. Well, y'all hang tough, because we got a whole lot more. You're welcome, brother.
All right.
All right. Now, if anybody else got a question, go ahead and raise your hand or open up the line, and you can get in and let me know about your experience and stuff that you know about. I also want to mention to you, and the reason why I thought it was important to bring this information out is because anytime we have a natural disasters or economic collapses or if there's war, people have a tendency to get out of the war zone. If we are in the cities, we're going to run out toward wooded areas and stuff of this nature. And I do want you to know that there are things out there that have not been given accountability for. For instance, I had a gentleman disagreed with me that there are no snakes on the earth that is possible that could swallow a man whole. And I said, well, I'm sorry to disagree with that, because there are regions on the planet where man has not gone. We have certain regions in the Asian jungles, and there are certain areas in the South American rainforest that has never seen a man. A man has never been there that far into the interior region. The same thing in India. The same thing in other places. And also, we have to understand that at one time, what we are experiencing today in Alaska and the polar regions of the planet was not that way. There were areas today are covered in ice that at one point were tropical. And that does not mean that there are not remnants and salvages of ancient times that are beneath that area. Okay, we see somebody have put a link into the chat room about this link, so you guys can get in there and check it out. Also, there was an incident where a woman, she was down in the Louisiana area, and there was a bar back off in the woods, little juke joint, little bar club, and she was in there, and when she came out of there, it was like 11 or 12 o'clock at night, and she was going to her automobile, but she said she heard a noise behind her, and a creature came out of the woods looking like a dinosaur that was green. And she said she seen this creature, and she immediately jumped in a car, and the creature jumped on the car, clawed it all up, clawed up the glass, clawed up the car. She was able to crank up and get out from under this creature to get away from this thing. And she had never seen anything like it. And when she began to tell people about it and stuff, she had other people that said they had seen the same thing. But needless to say, it was not broadcasted in the media. It was never put out there for everybody to see because there are certain things that they won't cover up. And you just have to keep in mind that there are underground caves in the walls of the earth. And all of these creatures that's coming and going don't live on the surface of the earth. Now, as far as the Bigfoot thing, you won't, I doubt if you will ever see anybody come up with one of those that they have shot and presented anywhere. Because these particular creatures here, they go in and out of dimensions of time. You'll see them and they totally disappear. There are Africans, ancient Africans in Asia, in certain regions of Asia, that the Asians do not tamper with because these people have the same ability. You're looking at them, and all of a sudden they vanish into thin air. Just totally disappear. And they cannot, they don't understand, but what these people have is the ancient records, and they're able to use what was given to man in the beginning. We got another caller with his hand raised. Area code 540.
Hey, this is Brother George again on Virginia. I just wanted to add to that a topic that, yes, spot on. That's what I've come across in the research. And one thing I wanted to get on for was to put out to the women, this was a story told to me via phone, private, but he didn't say to keep it private because he's got it out on YouTube. But the man told me he's right down just below me on the Blue Ridge Mountains of North Carolina. Woman and him, his woman friend, lady friend and him were out riding four-wheelers. She was having her menstrual cycle. There's something about the pheromones in a woman's menstrual cycle that attracts them. One tried to abduct her off of a four-wheeler. She had a beer bottle and knocked it upside the head was the only thing that saved her. And that's coming out of North Carolina. The man's gotten ridiculed. Like you say, a lot of folks, when you bring this stuff public, they're going to deny it because they've never heard this information. But when you start doing the research, you'll find it's everywhere. It's all over the planet, just as you're saying. But I wanted to put that out there about the menstrual cycle because there's something about that attracts them. And all these Bigfoot hunters, what's always baffled me is when you're trying to get pictures, photos, what have you, or perhaps kill one, and they always use baits Well, if it were me, I would be getting a hold of my woman's, I'm just going to be blunt, bloody tampons and putting them out there for bait.
Well, the thing is, what I'm trying to get people to understand about this particular creature, you're not going to be able to capture him. It doesn't matter what kind of bait.
Well, he knows your intentions. They know your intentions. They know if you're there to harm them or not long before you ever get in the area. My aspect of it.
Correct.
That's my opinion. And it goes right hand in hand with what you were talking about earlier. Sharing this information with the wrong folks, it's going to bring about bad. And a lot of folks don't realize that. You reap what you sow.
Well, it depends on what you're going to do with what you got. There's some things that I just simply can't say. And I have no intentions. I think I had to take this on down to the grave with me. But there are certain things that I can't say. Because people, if you misuse certain things, it will cause a very, very devastating. Some of it is so unbelievable and so unreal, but nevertheless it is true and evidence supported. Right. And the people that has it in their possession, they'll take it and put it on a box and seal it and lock it up because that's the only thing you can do with it. There's certain things that you can't.
Right. I'm with you. All right, I'm going to get off here and let you keep going on.
All right, then, partner.
Appreciate it.
All right,
peace.
Now, you're welcome. Now, we have this planet that we live on still contains remnants of everything that was put on it in the beginning, first formulated. There's still some of the original soil. There's still the original water. There's still some of the original creatures. In order for you to learn more about this, one of the most important thing that you can do is go to the region where the people exist. And even when you get there, they have rules and regulations and guidelines because there is certain information that you just cannot have. For instance, the Dogons. A lot of people don't know that the ancient Dogons were a part of the original ancient Kemetans, and they migrated away from there into the region that they are now. And scientists have been got the most powerful telescopes and got this, that, and the other, and they've been examining the stars and stuff. But the Dogons told them, say, well, look, there are ancient stars up there, and we have Sirius A, Sirius B, Sirius C, and Sigidolo, and all of this stuff here, and the ancient Dogons and the fish people and all of this stuff was told to the scientists, and scientists said, well, and keep in mind, the scientists had this thing in their mind that they are civilized or are uncivilized, but it's the opposite. And these people had told them that existed, and lo and behold, one clear January day, they seen it. And they said, oh, my goodness, there it is right there. They told us that this was there. There's the other one, and there's this, that, and the other. So they run back over to the Dogons because we're trying to figure out how is it that you, a primitive tribe, have this kind of knowledge, and we got all the telescopes and the most powerful telescopes and laboratories and universities and all of this, and the Dogons, look, you done done it. We don't need all of that. We have the original knowledge from what was told to us by the ancient, or what they consider to be God. They came down here. They gave us information. We have this. We know how to be civilized. We don't need electricity. We ain't got to go to Walmart for nothing. We don't eat no pork chops. We don't do none of that that you do. And we live for hundreds and hundreds of years, and we live in enjoyment. We perform our ceremonies. We have our our priests that navigate the stars and stuff, and we know when the gods are coming back. But we can't tell you that. We ain't about to tell you that because we done already seen what you done with the little bit of information you already got. You done almost blew up the world. That polluted the water, messed up the animals. We can't tell you nothing. We can't do that. So they the council, because they had one of the guys that came out from the Dogon, and they began to tell them the things about the serious incident. And so when the elders found out who it was that did that, they exercised that dude. He went on punishment. And, hey, don't, you ain't supposed to give out this kind of information. Don't tell them nothing. And here come all the scientists. They got their telescope, they got their camera, they got paper, pencil, computer. They trying to get it, man, please tell us something. Please. Say, no, we can't give you nothing else, partner. Yeah, we can't do that because if we give you this right here, you're gonna turn it around and destroy it. Let's see. In the chat room, it says, for the record, the mega libraries and storages of Kemet Nubia were ransacked. What many are currently seeing is just tidbits of it, as I'm hearing, reading, and learning. Well, you are absolutely correct about that, and there are certain parts of this information that not only reside in the ancient tombs and pyramids in Africa, what we're calling Africa, no such place, that reside in the place that we'll consider to be America, no such place. Down in the same ancient caves and temples and stuff in the Grand Canyon in Mexico, all over the United States, and South America, Brazil, Bolivia, all down up in there, all this stuff is there, these ancient records. But you have to have certain foundations of knowledge in your brain in order to understand this information. The scientists, they got it. They've been at it for years and years and years, trying to come to the conclusion of what this means, what that means. Well, you can't. You're going to have the supreme mathematics. You're going to have to be in touch with your spiritual side. You're going to have some ancient knowledge that is not readily given anywhere, that doesn't appear in any college or university on the planet, nowhere. You don't have this kind of information. So in order to understand this, we're going to have to get bits and pieces and pick these bits and pieces to the puzzle up from just about every region on the planet. There's certain information in India that we don't have access to. There's certain information in the Asian regions, in Mali, in some of the most remote places that you would not think that certain information exists. There are wealthy people that have vital pieces of this puzzle in their possession, and they have done everything they possibly could to try to understand it and still can't understand it. But they're not willing to give up that piece of the puzzle. Okay, we're going over here to area code 716. Come on in, 716. You're on the air.
Peace to the gods.
Peace, my brother. Let us have it. What's on your mind?
Man, I wanted to let you know that information that you speaking about is touching me a little bit and got me starting to brainstorm and recognize that what you said, certain information cannot leak out. And it reminded me of when I first started studying astrology, and I was trying to figure out how to read the chart and how the planets worked and how they could communicate and all these things. I've been studying for 15 years, and I have reached levels of comprehension about the science, but there's something about my learning and my studying, like it happened in phases. Like there's certain progressions and mathematical equations and cycles that were not given to me until I comprehend the simplest form. So I'm in agreement with that. And I also want to tell anybody who's listening or listening to the show that the more that we go within ourselves and see our heavenly contract of what was given to us at birth, you know, there's everything there, how we talk, what we like to, you know, what we like to eat, how we like to be touched, what makes us angry, and all these things. And these are the bases, in my eye, to us finding reparation. The first reparation is finding out who we are through the heaven, which is, in my eye, the first and only book that cannot be tampered with by no man. And I appreciate everything y'all doing, Brother Tarhaka, and I'm here listening and learning. And I thank you.
All right, Roberto.
Peace to the ancestors.
Thank you for calling. Peace and God. All right, everybody. Now, like the young man said, there's certain information that can't be given out. I mean, it can be given out, but the individual that receives it must be responsible enough to know that certain things are to be used a certain kind of way. The book that I was going to mention to you, and I have mentioned this book many, many times, if you want to see a man's ability of African descent inside the United States to use his powers in full swing, you can see this inside a book called Of Water and the Spirit by Malidoma Patrice Somé. The book is Of Water and the Spirit by Malidoma Patrice Somé. Okay, you get that book. That's a very, very powerful book. He tells the story about his grandfather that was one of the supreme elders of the village, and how he had such great wisdom and how everybody respected him, and what happened when he died, and the fact that his father, Malidoma's father, which was his grandfather's son, had went off the beaten path and had begun to embrace Christianity that had been forced into the region and been introduced to the people, and the people were being indoctrinated by this particular religion and moved away from the natural spiritual power that they had lived and used for hundreds of thousands of years. And he tells the story of what happened when his grandfather died, and instead of him, his father going through the ancient rituals and teachings of the elders and what was indigenous to that tribe, he goes and takes his father to the Christian church, and was going to have a Christian ritual up in there, but that wasn't happening. And even though grandfather had left the physical plane, he had to make a comeback and straighten it all out. And Malidoma got a chance to see the power of his grandfather in the physical realm as well in the spiritual realm, even after he had left the physical realm. See, what we have to understand is death is just an illusion. That's all it is. The only one that can destroy the real you is the one that created the real you. Death is only an illusion. You slip in and you slip out. You come in just like you came in before. You come in, you go out. You come in, you go out. You came in the 20s and the 30s and the teens. You're going out you're going out in the 2013, 14, 15s, and so on, and then come back, and this thing continues to go on. What occurred in prehistoric times didn't just happen that time. This is something that happens over and over and over again. we cannot rely on our scientists with their primitive selves to tell us anything about how old this rock is that we're standing on. We can't, when you start dealing with that kind of information, you start limiting yourself, you see. So when we realize, okay, the earth goes through a cycle, 25,560 years, the earth spins one way. At the end of that time, it starts turning back in the opposite direction. We go back to the proper, the original spinning of the planet, which will produce purity of water, purity of air, increased vitamin intake into plant and animal life, and a lot of species to grow. Now, when the Creator decides that we're going to stop this thing, we have everybody that we need to inhabit all the known universes and to do what needs to be done and going on to the next phase of what we got to do. That's totally left up to him. Okay? Now, ask yourself a question. We have suns, and there are many suns in the sky throughout the universe. You'll tell you, if you listen to scientists and stuff, they say, well, this planet has a sun over here. This other planet has a sun over here. And then in the Old Testament, what we call in the ancient African records, it tells you that the day will come when the earth will burn as an oven, and everything on it will be burned up. Now, we're talking about a what? We're talking about another sun. Right? I mean, it ain't hard to figure out. Just use your common sense. You want to exercise your spiritual powers. In order to do that, you're going to have to make sure the brain is tuned into the proper frequency. Now, you can perform certain experiments where you can actually physically leave the body, go places, that you don't need an airplane, you don't need a ticket, you don't need none of that, and return back to your body. All of this stuff here, according to our ancient ancestors, is elementary. This is elementary, what we're talking about. This is the ancient Kemetans are the people that they're calling Egyptians, ancient Egyptians, no such people. But the ancient Kemetans, they knew this. They had gotten this information from the priests. You had the ancient Moabites. You had Moab. You had these tribes and stuff. And if you look at the ancient African records in the Old Testament, where they begin to talk to you about the washings and the purification of this, and the washing of this hand, and the washing of the hands, and the purification of this bowl, and the setting up of this, and the worship of this, and stuff. These were all of this stuff was designed and put in place by a supreme mathematical equation to produce certain results. These are coincide with spiritual laws. But when we read this stuff from a physical perspective, we get lost. We're looking at it and say, well, they didn't, they're going through all this and washing this at this time, and they wearing this particular garment and doing this and that and the other and all this stuff. This stuff here may seem simple and outdated, but I'm here to tell you that it is rooted and grounded in the natural spirit, the original spiritual laws that are designed to govern you and produce greatness and magnificence and peace and tranquility and life for you. If we look at it from that perspective and realize that this is not something that just came about. Now, we got a lot of people that are ministers and churches and stuff that tries to explain this stuff here from a religious perspective. And we have to get away from that. We have to realize that we cannot put our Creator inside a box or a bottle. We can't do that. When we have a planet that spins on its axis, and they tell you in the ancient records, and in those days there were giants on the land. Now, in order for sustainability of giants, the water that they were drinking had to have a certain amount of vitamin intake. There has been things that have occurred on the earth, all of which we haven't gotten the information about. We have this thing where they say, well, the flood came, and we're under the impression that the flood covered the whole earth and this, that, and the other, and all this stuff because of our interpretations of what was said. We're under the impression that the giants are gone. No, they ain't. There you go. But anyway, I'm going to get down here, and high frequency radio, I'm listening. High frequency. $714. Okay. Area code 540.
Y'all got me back on there. Y'all got me back on there.
We got you back on, man.
Okay, I hadn't even, I guess I forgot to click out, but I'm just sitting back listening, and now that you brought me back on, man, I'm sitting here looking at some notes that I got from watching this fellow that I mentioned the other day, Bill Donahue, up on YouTube. Bill Donahue, and he has a website. It goes by hiddenmeanings.com.
Mm.
He's got over 700 videos on YouTube, and he's doing a lot of comparative religions studies and bringing forth this same kind of knowledge you're talking, Brother Tarhaka. And he also brings forth the scientific side, the medical side, or the physiology of the body and how it all relates, the microcosm, macrocosm, as above, so below. And the numbers are key, and it's all throughout the book they call the Bible. For example, I mean, you're looking at I'm looking at Revelation here, Revelation 13:18. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of man. Is number 603 score and 6, right? Well, when you add that all up, you got 6 plus 6 plus 6 is 18. 1 plus 8 is 9. And from what the studies we done, 9 is supposed to be equivalent to consciousness of man. 9 is a powerful number, and if you do when you write a 9, for example, you start at the line at the bottom, you go up and circle around back to that main leg, up off the line of the paper. Well, if you kept doing that, that's doing what? Spiraling right up towards what? And if you did the 6, you're spiraling down into the earth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and I mean, it's all through there. Revelations, you got 14:1. There's always those numbers, but when you stop and add those numbers up, those scores, it's like, wow, you see it from a whole different perspective. And I'm looking here at some of these notes talking about in reference to what they call AKA Jesus in the book, but it's referencing and talking about the Amen. Revelation 3:13 and 14. He that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches. 3:14, he goes in and say, and unto the angel of the churches of the latest sins, write these things, saith the Amen, the faithful and true witness, the beginning of the creation of God, which is the way we see it, I see it, or we see it, is Amen, a.k.a. Amen Ra, the Son. Like you're just talking about, this is what made me get up and look at these notes, because you were referencing how I seen it or interpreted what you were describing as the old sun dying and a new one coming in to take its place, the rebirth.
Okay, well, these rocks, they do, they're consumed. Everything what we're looking at in the universe, we have to understand, and scientists, to them, when they are, as they increase the power of their technology, they are able to see more ancient things that have been there millions and millions of years ago, but it's brand new to us because, for one thing, there's some things that have occurred since we have been on this planet for the past few hundred years that has, when they came into ancient Kemet and they began to come into the interior of Africa and get a hold to certain information and destroy the certain libraries and stuff, when they done that, that set the entire human race for a long.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And now we're just getting around to what we consider to be new. That should have been new hundreds of years ago.
Well, I interpret it as I heard another brother to say this was like right now we're in about the 13th cosmic generation, so to speak. In other words, like the cosmos is about 13 years old, like an adolescent, pre-adult. And what you just was talking about kind of reminds me of like an infant crawling still. We're still at that crawling stage into this information that's being kept away.
Well, exactly, because
we're not even beginning to walk yet, really, you know. And then, let alone when the vast majority has it, then we might be able to walk. And then when we take off really wrong with it is when I feel everybody has grasp of all this knowledge that's been kept away, secret.
Yeah. Well, I'm going on to the next phase. We're gonna go through a little commercial break right quick.
Right.
Y'all hold on.
High frequency radio. Sync up.
Okay, we're back. Now, what I just mentioned about the setback, most of us have no idea the amount of damage that has been done. And not only in Africa and in the certain regions, this sort of stoppage of time and reverse and stuff by the removal of what it would have for us to understand if we had known, we would not be where we are today. We wouldn't be in the condition that we're in today. We wouldn't. The things that we are experiencing today, as far as trouble and chaos and war and all this kind of stuff, we wouldn't be there. And there were other things that, in my opinion, think that any time you don't remain connected to or listen and learn from your parents, you run the risk of being destroyed. And I think this is some of what has taken place with man. I would like to recommend that you go to YouTube and look at the interview between Credo Mutawa and David Icke, the reptilian agenda, and that would shed some light. There was a question in there that I caught that coincided with a lot of the research and stuff that I had been previously doing involving this stuff, because I was trying to figure out what happened. How is it possible for man to be such a powerful creature and have the human brain inside of his skull and have the ability to use certain spiritual powers, but he's just not doing it? What is taking place? What happened? What is it that has taken place? He mentioned David Icke asked Credo Mutawa, do you think that the Greys, the reptilians, have manipulated the spiritual powers or some of the stuff that man was actually created with away from him? Do you think they have taken that from him? He said yes. He gave the question, yes, they have. Because, and then he gave another experiment about when they had abducted Credo, and he was on the table, and it was he could not move. And when these creatures came to him, they came out like a spiritual time warp, or an invisible time warp. They appeared. The temperature around him changed. And this today, this coincides, having remembered when he said that, when he was walking through the jungle, the temperature changed. And these creatures took him into the fog, into he woke up and he was on his table. In other words, he had blacked out, or something had taken place where he could not, in his present state, sustain the transfer from the physical realm with his personal consciousness realm where they had him at. And they began to conduct the experiment, and they took a rod and took his phallus and stuck this long rod, and he screamed for pain and stuff. They were brutal. And one of the creatures stood in front of the table, and he said he was so upset and shocked that he urinated on one of the creatures. And the creature fell backwards as if it had been shot. Now, we know that the human body is electric. And what's designed for the body is electric food. Electric food, electric body. The Creator put man in the garden. That's where he put him at. And he told him, this right here is what you're supposed to put in the body. Brought the animals to him to see what he'd call them and say nothing about lunch. But if these creatures, and these are ancient creatures, they don't come from someplace else. They are indigenous to this planet, and they are compatible with our women, and that's dangerous. And this creature had to be surrounded by an electrical magnetic field. So when the water hit the electric magnetic field, the creature was electrocuted. That would explain why he fell backwards and fell over as if he had been shot, because he had not. It was worse than being shot. He was electrocuted. That what happened to him. So the powers that these creatures are exhibiting are the same powers that we had with us in the beginning of time. We had. He told a story about when a man wanted food, he would go out into the field or the jungle, and he would call to an animal, and the animal would come and kneel before him. So, and he would kill it and take it and then feed his family. So now we're talking about, in my opinion, we're talking about a period of time where man had moved away from what was designed for the body. So now I need to know, from what time did he give this description, walk backwards through time and find out what was the space of time when man was doing what he was supposed to do, opposed to what he had done during that time period. So meat eating is something that goes back quite a spell. But it does not go back to the original man. So that will let us know what came in to change that out. What was it that came out to switch it around? Now, he said that the temperature changed when the creatures appeared. It got very, very cold. This is identical to what the diver had said when he was underwater, and he said that, all of a sudden, stuff got quiet. We didn't see any more fish. All of a sudden, the temperature in the water changed. It was extremely cold. Okay, so we are talking about an ancient manipulation going on here. So we need to know the time. When we're dealing with people, places, times, and event, we need to know the time that this thing happened, and that will when we gather this kind of information, that lets us know, puts us closer and closer to completely understanding the reality of where we are and what is actually going on this planet. And it is imperative for us to have that information. We're going to take a little quick break. When we come back, if those of you who have questions or comments, go ahead and raise your hand. I will open up the line so you can get in. Y'all hold on a second.
Let's use a little common sense for a moment. You want to start a business of your own. You need money to do so. Let's get out of debt first. Get rid of the student loan, mortgage, taxes, and all other contracts that bind you. Then go to www.newdebtelimination.com. Give me a call, Tarhaka, 904-303-9061. Before you make any donations about anything, let's find out where you're at and let's go to work eliminating this debt. Contact me, Tarhaka53 at hotmail.com, or call me, 904-303-9061, before 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Peace.
All right, we're back. Now,
High frequency radio. Sync up.
I'm going to open up this line again, area code 601. If you got another question or comment, I'm going to open up your line again. 601, you got something else to add? You with us, 601? Okay, brother, just listening. All right. Okay. I wanted to bring that little information out there because I'm constantly examining the past based on the information that I be gathering to put the puzzle together. Because when it comes to understanding law, understanding civics, understanding his story, culture, and all of this stuff, being a lawyer, being an attorney, handling yourself in a courtroom, or dealing with your debt collectors and all this, the first thing that you must have in place is knowledge of self. You must have the knowledge concerning the ancient records of where we are and what is in place and what is right and what is wrong. And when you have this as the foundation inside of your brain, now we are officially ready to get on with what they're considering and calling today an education, because we are able to separate fact from fiction. I can go into any major colleges and universities inside the United States and sit down there and listen to a professor or whatever he's talking about, and pretty much what he's telling me is a waste of my time and a bunch of garbage, because I just want the nuts and bolts and wriggle pins of the real nitty gritty. I don't need you to determine for me my level of intelligence. I'll do that for myself. I was given a brain and created in the image and likeness of the Creator himself. The earth, everything on it, and everything in it belongs to me. And this is what we know, and this is what we should understand. Once we have this, when someone comes to you and try to tell you something about some authority they may be exercising over you, I think it's only fair if you and them get together so they can point out to you when the Creator that created you and them put them in charge of you. And that way I'll be willing to sign it and put my signature on it and put my stamp on it or whatever needs to be done so that can be righteous, part of the law. So when we are talking about in the beginning, God created the law, everything that we've discussed here today, including the ancient animals, the ancient creature, the water, the movement of the earth, and everything, all of this is governed by laws. there is a reason that it was made this way. And it's designed to sustain what we got going until a particular point in time. And when that time comes, the next phase will take its place. Ancient astrological information that we have discussed. This is ancient. It is rooted and grounded in supreme mathematics that governs our lives. The movements of the planets in our solar system have a direct bearing on our attitudes and behavior and interaction with one another. And this is something that the powers that be have gotten a hold of and will only trickle down to you very small bits and pieces of what you need to know. But the basic of what you need to know in regards to this particular science is not complicated. It's basically simple. If you have the foundational knowledge, there are birds on this planet that existed millions of years ago. They live in caves and stuff, and they come out during certain periods of time, and you have to keep in mind that these particular animals are extremely intelligent. And in my opinion, I think in their minds, being seen by one of us, coming in contact with one of us, is one of the most dangerous things that they can ever do. They have a what we call a sixth sense to know doing certain movements of the planet when the moon is in a certain cycle, and certain times of the year, certain months of the year, and certain days in that month in the year is when they are doing certain activities and remain able to avoid detection by us on a large scale for hundreds of years. They was very much aware of us long before we even know they ever existed. They were aware of us because they are still endowed with what we were endowed with in the beginning. And so what we have to do now, because of what we have suffered, doing invasions and conquests and murder and all of this stuff here, which has set the entire world back. Area code 727. 727.
Brother Tarhaka?
Hey, I'm fine, brother. Let me have it. You're on the air.
How's it going, brother?
Fantastic.
Dropping a lot of knowledge over here. I'm really, 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 really enjoying the show. I just want to encourage you, brother, to keep it up, dropping the right knowledge. Peace.
Well, thank you. Peace, brother. Appreciate you calling in. All right, we're going down here to area code 313, okay? 313, you're on the air.
Peace.
Peace, brother.
Yeah, I got a question. The missing link between, I say, people born here, our people, Aboriginals, to the rest of the world. You know, because the only thing we kind of link up with is just, Egypt. We get lost in a lot of the titles and languages. What civilization? That's not mentioned very much in the public that, will give us that link.
Well, there's a reason for that, and I just gave you the answer to that.
I didn't hear it.
The earth, everything on it, and everything in it belongs to you. All species on the planet, except those who were put here from someplace else, came from you. Now, this earth, according to Credo Mutawa, has brought forth over 24 species of man. But there have been people that have their original area and have killed whole civilizations of people that had never been murdered previously to these people being brought into existence. For instance, we have the Tasmanian people, just to mention one race of people that were wiped out. There were certain tribes of people in Africa that has been totally wiped out that we know absolutely nothing about. The original inhabitants of certain islands were wiped out. They did an experiment in one of the islands. I can't remember it right off the top of my head, but I have this information in the books and stuff, where these people were taken off their island. Every inhabitant was removed from the island. An atomic bomb was blown up on the island, emitting radiation onto the island, and the people were taken and put back on the island and begin to die from radiation poison. This type of behavior and stuff has been going on. In the island of Jamaica, the original inhabitants, every last one of them, no longer exist. They are deceased. And the people that we have there that we view today as Jamaicans, these are people that were taken and brought there and put in there. And this is not the first time something like this has occurred. If you read the ancient African records of what you're calling the Bible, the same thing happened in the Old Testament when King Sennacherib came in and took what they were calling the children of Israel away from their land and went and got other people and brought in and put on the land. Now, these behavioral practices have set into motion a continuous series of confusion and a lack of total understanding. So now we have masses of people on the planet who are stymied and have no power whatsoever as a result of these behavioral practices. Yep. Mm-hmm.
So, okay, so I took it outside of, okay, so let's just say I guess we'll stick to this particular continent, you know, as far as present day, you know, and take down the veil of the United States and the title America. You know, how would that link us to being native?
Okay, well, in order to get a full and concise understanding of that, I have to recommend certain books. One is They Came Before Columbus. Another book is When Rocks Cried by Horace Butler. The Records of Yosef Ben Jochannan, the works of Sheikh Anta Diop and Obanga, and there are other records and stuff that the government have in their possession, where these people, some of them were Caucasian people that just outright came out and told what they seen and what they found. And these people, the records have been taken away. In a lot of cases, these people have been murdered. That's what happened to the gentleman that created foregone energy. That's what happened to the German scientists that created a way to feed give the entire planet electricity. When you talk about the United States of America, in order for the men and women that have hatched the counterfeit to rule over the people, there has to be a denigration of the ancient story. There has to be a cover-up. And there has to be murder to maintain the stranglehold on the brains of the people, because each individual on this planet has the power that goes beyond the imagination of belief. In order for them to exercise the power, they have to first have knowledge of the ancient records and knowledge of themselves and what they are comprised of and what they have the ability to do. And there's a constant struggle and cover-up about the people inside this the United States. Now, we look at the Moors. We know the Moors occupied Spain as early as the 10th century when General Tarhaka came in there and conquered Spain. He brought a great brigade of Africans. And these Africans, along with General Tarhaka, which was an African, they're the ones that conquered the entire peninsula of Spain, period. That's who conquered Spain. But what happened was the powers that be want to remove that particular knowledge and lead you to believe that the Moors was somebody other than Africans. Now, during the same time period, the Moors had control of the Mediterranean and the Atlantic Ocean. We had the Moors on the Americas continent, what we are calling America, which was originally Mexico, and it had a name before that, Pangea, and all this right here. Different tribes on this landmass called it different things according to their tribal practices and tribal languages. So we do know that the oldest people in this region and on this particular landmass were Africans and Asians. The Indians that's on this landmass came from the continent of India. All nationalities are associated with a landmass, and all landmass are associated with a nationality. So if I'm German, then I'm associated with Germany. If I'm Korean, I'm associated with Korea. If I'm Cuban, I'm associated with Cuba. But now, in order to maintain the stranglehold of the people, we're going to have to name people, places, places, people. The same thing that was done inside your ancient African records, and the same thing was done in Africa and everywhere else on the planet. In order to maintain this, we're going to have to keep confusion going. So what we're going to do is we're going to wipe out the fact that the Moors occupied and controlled the Mediterranean in a language. We're going to create what's called history, which is defined as his story. We're going to go and create ancient, new artifacts and palm them off as ancient. We're going to take statues, when we learn how to do sculpture and learn how to do concrete and plaster this stuff, and we're going to make these statues and we're going to install them into our history and say that they were ancient to give ourselves some type of credibility for a past that we never had. We're going to have to lead the world to believe that we are a literate people when in reality we could not even spell illiterate. As early as the 10th century, the Moors occupied Spain. They built over 200 public baths where any man could walk out of and take a bath. And this was during a time when in Europe, bathing was regarded as a sin. The stories of the castles and stuff that we see on television, and this was supposed to have been built by the Duke of Windsor, and this is supposed to be, that is a lie. These were built by Africans. They were built by the Moors. The public streets, paved sidewalks, and street lamps were built by the African Moors. They had homes, palaces, and temples embellished in gold. We don't know what it feels like to walk out on your front porch and lean over on a banister that's made out of gold. We don't understand that. We have never experienced that kind of life before. Decked out in the beautiful designs and clothes and stuff, and with libraries with manuscripts filling the walls of the libraries. And the one in Cordova, Spain, housed over 600,000 manuscripts. And this was during a time period where there was not a college or university in existence in Christian Europe. But now we know that there's a cover-up and a counterfeit, because now we have people believing of African descent that they can go in a college and university inside the United States and get an education. That's impossible. You can only get information, because whoever they're in there, if they don't look like you, they can't teach you nothing about you. And that's the first thing that you got to know is who you are. There was only one saying in Africa, in ancient Kemet, and that is man know thyself. And I'm not talking about just Kemet in Africa. I'm talking about the pyramids and the civilizations that we built in America. There's nowhere on earth that you are not first and the owner thereof. We have to get that part understood. And when you can understand that, then we're ready to get on with beginning to get information about this current civilization that we got to consider themselves civilized. You got another question, brother?
Yeah, that was I'm familiar with some of that information as far as the Moors go, but I'm just saying, like, I mean, when we teaching our kids and stuff, to tell them those stories and teaching those stories compared to them having things that's tangible, because we live in an age where they get these devices, these electronics, and then they're in a school system where it's pushed upon them with just the American United States history. So going a little bit past what the United States being created, which before the Confederation and the 13 colonies and stuff, those people came over from foreign countries to this land. So that's what I'm saying. A history before that, like you said, you gave me the books. I do have When Rocks Cry Out. I haven't finished it yet though, but it is a lot of things in there that I've seen, but just other sources that, like I said, we can teach our kids and start connecting these dots so they can something that they can grasp hold to. Because, they're not going to do the extensive research. It is going to have to be us, the parents, but ultimately, we still need to have something that they can grab hold to and see.
Well, I have to agree with you. What we're talking about now is not something that we're going to have to literally try to tell the children. No, this is something that we're going to have to do. Because when your child see you doing something, they will imitate what you're doing. Then they will ask questions. That's when you tell them the truth. Now, once a child get a hold of what we are discussing here today, they are forced to be reckoned with. I've had situations where a brother called me and he said, Brother Tarhaka, he said, my daughter is fascinated with the information contained in your library, and she be printing out stuff, and she be reading it, and she be discussing and asking me questions and making me go in there and study, because she be pulling out stuff that I meant to get to, but I hadn't got to, and the little girl went to school, and the teacher started the usual BS about Christopher Columbus discovering something. And she was able to put several documents down on the table proving that, first of all, there's no such person as Christopher Columbus, it was Christopher Columbus, and then he was a thief, and he didn't discover nothing, and he was a murderer, a thief, and a liar, and a coward. So when she put all of this stuff on the table, the teacher got mad with her. The teacher said, well, where did you get this? This doesn't go along with anything. She said, I got this from my daddy. My daddy got his own library. And I learned, he teaches me. And the teacher got mad and sent her to the principal's office with the information. And he wanted to know why she'd been kicked out of class. And so she laid the information down on the table. The principal got it. Both of these were Caucasian gentlemen. And they began to read the ancient African truth. And he made the little girl go out there and pick up paper on the ground. He said, well, you disrupting the class.
Yeah, that same incident happened with my daughter's brother. I was, showing him some things about that, and he went to school and, pretty much said the same thing about Christopher Columbus and John Hanson. I told him that John Hanson was the first president, of the United States or whatnot. And he got in trouble for it, You know, so that's what I'm saying. When you get things that happen like that, you know, well, what's happening, you know, from a child point of view, like I just got in trouble for saying something that I know is right because I seen it from my own eyes, you know, and my mother or father told me this, but then here my mother and father sends me to a school, and you know I get in trouble for it. You know, like you said, with all this stuff, they set out a bunch of confusion. So you know, just for that notion there, it's just like, you know, that's what I'm saying. We gotta fight literally from the bottom to the top. You know, even with teaching our children, you know, the real history. You know, because like Christopher Columbus, he learned from another explorer. What's his name? Quasi or I can't think of the guy's name, but him and another guy, the one that went over to Canada and renamed Canada. You know, so that's what I'm saying. Things like that, you know, they don't teach them in school. So when we teach them things, it's very little literature, you know, to help back them up. You know what I'm saying? To the degree, you know, maybe we as parents know it, but to get their mind to fathom and able to articulate it in a way. And I know it can be done because I'm starting to see a lot of things on YouTube where these kids, they like 3 years old, can explain things, explain things better than some adults. So, you know, even myself, so, because I'm, you know, learning now myself, but it's just that notion, you know, when you do wake up and open your eyes and you get to the point where you say, okay, I need to change this, you know, that just that struggle and that fight. And then we don't, you know, some people, not all people are, you know, blessed to have a elder, you know, in their family to, you know, show them those things or to give that history. You see what I'm saying? Because I haven't even seen none of my grandfathers. I just not seen one picture this year. So, you know, I'll be 31 Sunday. So that's what I'm saying. Like, the disconnect of history is just like overwhelming on so many generations.
Well, you had to look at what was at stake. What was it that was at stake that there had to be a complete, total denigration? So we're not talking about black people in America. We're talking about the original owners of the earth that had sit on the throne of the earth and dominated the earth for hundreds of thousands of years, while the rest of the earth's population stood on the outskirts or on the outer walls looking in and watching life unravel. And the original kings and queens that were connected to the original creator dispensed justice, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness the real way it was supposed to be done. And the only people on the planet that can bring this back into existence are the original people that it was given to in the beginning. And the only way you're going to get your child to have the power is you're going to have to do and walk along with them doing it. You're going to have to do the research. Every man of African descent inside the United States needs to have his own personal library in his home, and he should leave that library as a legacy for his seed. The book should line his wall. If we got new technology come out on the internet, you should have one there for him. If it coming at you another way, he should have it. He need to continue to furnish this library until the day that he dies, and leave it as a legacy for his children, and live it at the same time, and be able to not only answer the questions of the children, be prepared to do the research and run along with them so they can get this information and regardless of what they're telling the child in school, the child would digest law as well. In other words, when you tamper with me about the truth, I know what to do with you about it. And this is something that we have to do too. All of your family members have to be aware of the fact that you are masters of law and you know how to handle certain situations. You don't need a gun. But if you do need a gun, you know what to do with that as well. If you know how to shoot, your wife should be able to shoot just as good as you. You got a son and a daughter, they need to know how to shoot just as good as you. Whatever it is that you know militarily, they need to know also. Now, I made mention of a book the last Friday when I was on the broadcast. I'm going to give you this information one more time. The title of the book, Of War, by Sun Tzu, S-U-N, and the last name is T-Z-U, The Art of War. The other book that I gave out for those of you who just tuned in is The Evolution of Consciousness, Matrix 4, Cracking the Genetic Code by Sophia Stewart. The other book that we talked about is The Third Eye, Where It All Begins by Sophia Stewart. Okay? So that's the basics of what we are faced with and what we have to deal with. You cannot hope to move into the future with information that's being cranked out by public school system, grade school, high school, and colleges and universities in the United States have knowledge. You have no knowledge. You have information, because if I ask any college professor to please tell me who you are without telling me your name, he's at a standstill. I don't care how many degrees he got. And if you don't have this kind of power, you're not prepared to deal with anything. Anybody can come to you and tell you any kind of thing. But when you walk through a crowd, there should be a beacon of light around your head. And that comes from filling the brain with the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. That energy emanates from you wherever you go.
And you're a true elder, man. Yes, I understand, and I appreciate wealth of knowledge and experience as well. I just want to thank you, and I do have that one book, The Art of War on order. I got to look at getting the other two books. But I want to just thank you and High Frequency and Yusuf. All you brothers are doing a great service to the people, man.
Okay, well, I certainly thank you and appreciate you for calling in, brother. You take care.
All right, peace. Peace, you too.
Peace.
High Frequency Radio. Sync up. Sync up. Sync up. Sync up.
Okay, brothers and sisters, we're dealing with part one of In the Beginning, God created law, and then man and woman. Before you load a wagon, the first thing you got to do is build a wagon. So before the Creator put man on the rock, he got to make sure that everything that man was going to need according to his basic design of what he was about to put on the rock. He had to determine how long is man supposed to be on the rock, and what sustainable activities can we put on the rock that's going to go over, and what are we prepared to do in the event of a disaster, of something happens. All of this stuff was planned out in advance. We had the proper minerals, we had the proper regions, we had the earthquakes and tornadoes and all this, all these things in effect in their due season. We had the dinosaurs that's going to produce fossil fuels that's eating off the vegetation and stuff. And that period of time went on and stuff, and when that period of time has gotten everything that we need, now it's time to introduce another dinosaur that's going to take out the herbivores and stuff and do the searing and keep the balance going. Every fish in the ocean has a purpose. We got with our smart self. We're going into restaurants and we eating fish shark steaks, and we're calling it a delicacy with the sharks to put in the ocean. These are the giant deep squeakers. Their job is to keep the ocean clean. Then we got the crustacean on the bottom of the ocean floor, which are the shrimps and lobsters and stuff. They eat the minute particles. Then we got plankton. So we got the whale shark and only digest plankton and stuff. So everything is in order on this planet. That's natural. Everything is in order in the universe, and the only thing that's out of order is man. So we got to get back in order. They did an experiment on crows, and at one time, and they discovered that the crow is an extremely intelligent animal that duplicates man. His behavior duplicates what man does. The crow. He has over 100 and something different calls that a crow can make to let other crows know this what's going on with this, that, and the other. They are able to pick an individual out of a crowd and give us a signal to the rest of the group to let them know about that particular individual. That is amazing. They are able, if one of them is killed, the crows will come and gather to as if they are having a memorial for a space of time. There's silence. There's absolutely no sound. They are this type of behavior can also be found in elephants, where they are closely attached to their offspring and stuff, and their behavioral patterns. So if you go and you watch nature and you look at the behavioral patterns of certain animals, you can take monkeys, for existence. A particular species of monkeys that they will have a broadcast on, I wrote books about, and examine that particular species of monkey and learn a ton of information about their behavioral patterns and stuff. You can take any animal on the planet or anything that's in balance of doing what they're supposed to do. Now, there are dinosaurs right there in plain sight that we deal with on a regular basis that we don't know is prehistoric. The alligator, the crocodile. We think that, well, you know, that's just a crocodile. No. Those are prehistoric creatures. They just caught one over here in Florida. I think they say it was... I think it was 13, 14, 15 foot long, and they said they would cut his head off and stuff him and stuff. It took him over 3 months to catch him, but they finally caught him. And but these are ancient things. There are references in the book that we were talking about in the beginning about Leviathan, and this creature here has been on the earth ever since the beginning. But the problem is most of us have never seen him. But with what we got going on now, I don't blame him. You know, I keep hitting too. You know, I catch y'all down there where I'm at, down up on the water. I mean, you know, I might go on and knock one of y'all off. But I ain't really come out there and go to swimming around and holler about, well, I'm the boss. No, man, you got nuclear weapons. You got a submarine and all this. No, man, I ain't really deal with you. You're the most dangerous creature on the face of the planet of the 20th century thing they call it man today. But actually it's not man, it's mankind. And they told you the difference when they called themselves landing on the moon. That was a lie too. One giant step for man. One small step for man. Why do you put it that way? One small step for man, one giant step for mankind. Okay, so you'll know that there are people on the planet who know the difference, know who you are, know who they are too. But they got to keep you from waking up to the knowledge of the fact of who you are. And so it behooves us to go back and do the research and do the study and to learn about our ancient past and stuff. And like I've said, there are whole civilizations people, whole species of plant and animal life today that no longer exists. The average child that is born today and their parents have never no knowledge whatsoever and never seen a lightning bug. And I'm 61 years old now. We've seen lightning bugs as early as the 60s. It is a bug that flies through the air, and his tail lights up just like a light bulb. You can catch him and put him in a glass, and he will cut on the light. Not me and he's out there. But most of us have never seen anything like that. There are grasshoppers that grow bigger than half of a man's hand right down here in Florida. Brothers come down here from New York and Chicago and stuff like that, man. They say, man, what the hell is that? I said, brother, just be cool. Say, hey, man, look, man, get me out of here, man. I don't know. What is that? That's a dinosaur. I said, it's just grasshopper, man. I said, we played with them as kids. We'd get string and tie around him and let him pull matchboxes with dirt in it. And, man. But they are plant and animal that has been going on into extinction since immigrants have occupied the America. When they came into the America and they began to kill and maim and rape and pillage, they began to destroy the natural order of things. And this is where we are today in this life. And there are things that our ancient ancestors, just regular insects and different birds and different creatures and stuff, harmless creatures, that have gone into extinction. Whole species have gone into extinction, and we don't know that they ever existed. But thanks to a wonderful creator, nothing is lost. And in my opinion, these creatures that you've never seen before, you get a chance to see them because nothing is lost. Everything is preserved. And everything will behave itself, too. So I'm here to tell you, you don't have to fret about dying. You should be getting on with the business of living and learning how to live. And you can get books about certain plants and birds and animals and stuff that are extinct today and see what they look like. We had one of the saddest things that I've ever seen in my life. When I was young, I think I was in high school. No, I was out of high school. And they had a bird that they called the dusky sparrow. And it was a male bird, and they had him in a cage. And they say that he was the only one of his kind. All of his kind had been driven into extinction by the creators of all the colleges and universities and all this stuff who are supposed to be intelligent that have destroyed. But this bird, he lives in, he was the last one of his kind. And the photographs, the videos that they had of the bird is when he was alive. But the broadcast came on the media to let us know that he has finally died. He was the last one of his kind. Now, I tried to imagine what it would be like, what it was like for that bird to have lived all that time and never was able to see somebody that looked like him that was a mate like him. Never experienced it. If he did experience it, he never seen it again once he got into the hand of mankind. And he died in a cage when he should have been free. He might have been able to go out and revive a sister who died as a result of not having her man. See, we got this thing today where sisters and brothers of African descent believe that they can live without each other. But you cannot. You cannot exist. You cannot remain as a people when you begin to mingle and procreate with other people outside of your race. You cannot. You will only destroy your own kind. And there's a massive attack against you to promote that same type of behavior. There are people who are extremely dark, highly melanated people that's being murdered outright to remove them from the earth, so that mankind can remain and emerge as a consciousness somewhere in the future. Now, the truth is, and I had these statistics a few years ago, where the Caucasian species by 1977 compared to the Earth's people of color were at zero population growth by 1977 during that time period. So now we have a massive assault on people of African descent. We have the United States have the largest prison population on Earth. African descent being placed in captivity. They have what is called law, but which is in reality public policy masquerading as law, and they are locking the children up and charging them as an adult to remove you from the planet, to put you in a cage. Because just like Dr. Frances Cress Wilson explained to you, and I suggest that you go over there and look at the sister's video, she told you that people of African descent automatically represents genetic annihilation just through regular procreation. We don't have to shoot nobody. All we got to do is love one another, just like your Creator told you to do. And love your one another as I have given you commandment. Love your sister. If you're going to make love, brother, to a woman, she needs to be one that look like you. And procreate and embrace your own culture and love your own culture. That's how you procreate and move ahead. Now, we have this thing going on, and it's becoming more and more acceptable, but we don't understand the implications and dangers of what we're witnessing, where we got brothers that's going and marrying and procreating outside the race. We got sisters going on and marrying and procreating outside the race. That is a mistake. That contributes to the extinction of your race as a people. That's one of the biggest mistakes you can ever make. I welcome anybody that disagrees with me to come in here. In order to understand what I'm talking about, you're going to have to do the research. Every man and woman on the planet needs to know what their body is made out and what components in their body. They need to know about your blood. You need to know about your plasma. You need to know everything about your brain, what's in it, how it functions, how the body functions, everything. This is just basic knowledge that every last one of us need to have. But what is going on is we are allowing other people to tell us about that, and we are going inside of their medical facilities, and they are killing us. They are murdering your children. You go in the hospital for a little nut, doctor come out, well, he deceased. She died from complications and stuff like that. But of course, me, as y'all, some of that happened to me, we have a major problem because I'm already aware of what you're doing. As soon as I smell it, we have a very serious problem in the entire region. But anyway, this is why it's very important for us to understand everything about us, our ancient story, and our ancient past. I would like to recommend that you go on YouTube, connect with the brother Delbert Blair, Dr. Delbert Blair, and there's a great deal of information being put out by Dr. Delbert Blair involving the stuff that we're discussing here this evening. For those of you who have access to a radio, you might want to listen to some Coast to Coast AM where they cover a lot of stuff, and you are able with this type of information in order to put the pieces together. You're able to put the pieces together for yourself. But the name of the game is survival. Preservation is the first law of nature. And all you got to do is look at what nature does. When we go out in nature and we interfere with nature, because we got a lot of programs on TV, and I have seen this in the past where they're saying, well, over here, this region has suffered certain droughts and stuff, and we're going to have to take these animals here and move them over to this more grassy region so that we can get this. We're going to have to take the baby from this particular elephant and introduce this child over here in this region. Well, the question is, how did it get that way in the first place? And what are you doing there? If you didn't feel like you were responsible for the disaster, then why are you there? You see. And so when we have the ancient knowledge, then we come closer and closer and closer to the original of what we are experiencing in this life. And once we have that, now we can officially get on with the business of getting what is called today an education. Because a lot of us are under the impression that we can get an education from going to college and universities and stuff, and but don't know nothing about our own self. And we certainly don't know nothing about our ancient past, and we're under the impression, and this is one of the biggest mistakes that people of African descent are making in the United States. We're under the impression that we can continue to live and exist as a people and make some progress as a nation without having any knowledge concerning our ancient past. You can't. It won't work. You cannot do that. You have to have to abide by the rules and regulations and guidelines of your ancestors and the one that created them. Otherwise, you won't survive. You can't. It's non-existent. But you got people who will come up to you and tell you, well, if you go over here, we'll give you a degree, and you can get a job, and you can become chief officer at this corporation, and when you get that, your salary will be $80,000 a year. Well, the question should be $80,000 worth of what? Hit notes? Well, you going to give me $80,000 worth of gold? How long that's going to last me? Where I'm going to get it from? If America ain't got none. So what are you telling me? In my opinion, I think it's just a bunch of garbage. Because one of the most interesting things that I have ran into, and the most hardest people to get to understand anything, are people who've been have a certain amount of education. Their attitude is, well, I have arrived. I'm like, arrived where? With what? Well, I'm the senior officer over at such and such a. I'm the director of a senior. Okay, what is it that you know? Tell me something about the very earth that you're standing upon. Just give me a little common sense, if you would. Give me a few things about your body. Should a woman of African descent wear panties to bed or not? And if not, why not? Now, I know that's a shocker, but anyway, there's some things that we just simply don't know. What is it about us that's different from anybody else on the planet? What is it about us that we are supposed to be doing that's different from anybody else on the planet? Because see, with the word, in order for the world to rule over you and to maintain the stranglehold on you and keep you away from your throne that has always been yours for hundreds of thousands of years, they have to give you an alternative. And if you are attempting to learn the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, then we're going to have to get a hold of you and connect ourselves to you and hold on to you. But we cannot afford to let you go and let you do what you got to do and teach your people what you're supposed to teach them without us being privy to it. We can't do that. We have to be standing ready to interrupt or destroy or turn away from or cut off minds. We have to do that. Cannot afford for you to be left alone with your own self, because you have proved beyond any shadow of a doubt, when you are left alone and nobody is bothering you, and you have gotten among your people and your brothers and your sisters, and you're not creating a disturbance, you are involved in progress, it won't be long before you have created a New York City, or Los Angeles, California, or Black Wall Street, and on and on and on. We have to monitor you. We have to, if you ain't bothering nobody, you ain't harming nobody, but you are in the position to make progress as a people, as a nucleus, and do what you got to do, then you're disturbing the peace. And somebody got to go to jail. You are a cult. We're going to send the United States military. We're going to have to come in there. We're going to have to break that up. You're evil. That's wicked. You're doing witchcraft. It's voodoo. Anything. You see. So, Brother Malcolm say, a man ain't asking for freedom, justice, and equality in America. He gonna take it. And in my opinion, I don't think the brother was wrong. Me personally, I feel like my children and my grandchildren need to have specific information available to them. And me, as their father and grandfather, my job is to invest in it and make sure that they have it available to them, whether they do anything with it or not after I'm dead and gone. But I do it on a regular basis, and I continue to add to the library, and so that it is available to them. And I don't have to worry about it, because sooner or later, one of them, maybe one or two of them, maybe male or female, one is just like me. They'll come out and do the same thing. They're going to get a hold of their information, and they're going to start asking questions. Well, you didn't tell me this right here. You told me something about some crucible lumbers. I don't want to hear that no more. Don't tell me that no more. Tell me about Musa Khan Musa. Tell me about Khufu. Tell me about the Candaces. Tell me about the great African kings and queens that set foot on this continent hundreds of thousands of years ago. Give me the key to the Smithsonian Institute so I can get up in there and open up some of them crates and see what's in it. Let me go inside some of these private colleges and universities and go in some of them rooms and stuff, and on some of them wings that they say nobody is supposed to go in. It's off limits to everybody, where we're carrying on the cover-up and the to continue to keep a lid on the original lie. Show me the records where all of the books and documents and alternatives to the Darwin theory that was never allowed to be published. Tell me the records and show me the letters and stuff of the people that challenged Margaret Sanger when she was talking about the erasure of an entire race of people through genetics and protesting and all this stuff. Why is it that everybody knows about us except us? This had to come to a close. We're going to have to change all this business here. Turn around. Now, in part 2 of this broadcast, we will be dealing with some of the same information, but we're going to come on over into the 21st century, and we're going to deal with the man and woman part. But I wanted to use part 1 of this broadcast in order to give you the foundation of the natural laws and the ancient historical backdrop of what was going on. One other book that I mentioned the contents of that I need you to go back and get, and that for those of you who do not have this book in your possession, The Moors in Spain by Stanley Lane Poole. Now, Stanley Lane Poole gives you all the backdrop information, but what we have to look at is prior to the Moors coming into Spain, what was going on prior to that on the planet. And what I don't need is the information coming to me from anybody that don't look like me. Now, this doesn't have anything to do with racism. I want you to understand that. I mean, if I'm going to be accused of loving myself, loving my family, and embracing my family, and my family is business, and business is family, and putting my people first and everybody else on earth comes second, that's racism, and I'm sorry. I am terribly sorry about that, because as far as I'm concerned, that's the way it is. And if you need to go get the Pope, go and get him. If he got a different opinion, go bring him over here. Because in my opinion, I personally think you're gonna need him, because when I get through with him and laying out the truth, you're gonna take that dress off and put on some pants. Anyway, next broadcast on part 2, we're gonna deal with the law aspect. We will be coming to you. We will have just a few plugs from Mr. Carl Lentz. We're going to have some other stuff as well. I just want to deal with the ancient records, and we started from the spinning of the planets and stuff in our solar system and stuff of this nature here. And I want you to understand the main thrust, and why I'm telling you this is because even in the ancient past, laws govern certain things, and those laws that govern certain things were put in motion by the Creator that created the items, the people, the animals, the plant life, the atmosphere, the biosphere. All of this stuff was governed by laws, and nothing has changed. Everything is governed by laws, but what I'm trying to get you to focus on is the fact that the laws that you need to understand first are the laws that was given to a man or a woman by the original Creator. Now, once we get that down to a science, and we got somebody out there that disagree with it, then we just need to, they don't need to argue with nobody. Okay, well, you say you in charge of this, and you're in charge of that, and here go my record right here. You know, I got my documents. You know, I walk in the courtroom and I apologize to you, Your Honor. I'll be coming to you today from the book of Genesis, the book of Kings and Chronicles, if you don't mind. And I can see him now. Sir, I have to Jake after sir, blah, 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 blah. I'm sorry, Judge, I'm a man. I'm not a fiction. I'm not your property unless you could provide proof of claim where you own me or own me somewhere. If you got a copy of my birth certificate, I need to show me where my signature on it, because I'm the one in question here. So when we look at law from the original foundation of where it came from, who created it, and then we look at the natural laws that govern the rock that we stand upon, and the air and water. Now we are officially ready to see what those people who are considering themselves to be in charge of you, or have some type of authority over you, are governing where you can fish at in the ocean, are governing where you can be at on your land. And you discover that the people that are doing this kind of stuff to you are immigrants. The immigrants. Because and this doesn't have anything to do with racism. I want you to understand this. Please understand this. I'm just calling it like I see it. Now, I have a book here called Without Sanctuary. And this book is full of photographs of my ancient people in the Americas that have been murdered. They've been lynched, been hung, and all this other stuff, castrated, raped, pillaged, and all of this right here. But I got the descendants of the same people who done this sitting behind desks inside a courtroom with black robes on of all colors, and saying that they have authority to dictate law. Something. Now, wait a minute now, because I'm looking at this from a common sense perspective. You're not native to the land. You have a record of destruction, death, damnation, but you turn around and put on the color of the same people you annihilated, and then you're going to sit in judgment of somebody as if you are supposed to be held as having some type of authority. Something is not making sense to me. And I think that we should have the knowledge in order to bring it up when you're faced with it. And make sure you got the photograph. Because in a lot of the photographs that I have over here, we not only have the murder victim, but we have photographs of the people that actually committed the murders. I like to enter these into the record because I give the grand jury a copy of it so they can see it for themselves. Some of them look like you, but I want it in their hand. And I need you to explain to me, for you to sit in judgment of any man or any woman that's been created in the image and likeness of the Creator himself. And help me overturn the part where it said that man, not mankind, was given dominion over the birds of the air, the fish in the ocean, and the land. And just because I don't go and jump off a cliff and call myself bungee jumping, that don't make me less than a man. There are ancient stories of our forefathers that have actually killed lions with their bare hands. So if I'm going to know about a man, that's the man that I want to know about. I don't want to know about or have any holistic respect for a man that shot an animal with a weapon from a distance. to me, you can say anything you want to say about being a man, but in my opinion, I have to disagree with that. I the best I can do is mankind. That's the best I can do. I can't do any better than that. I mean, I know what I'm talking to you about might seem kind of cruel to a lot of people and stuff, and I'm not trying to be cruel. I'm only giving you the facts. Now, everything that I'm telling you here, I can lay the information on the table so you can prove to me where I went wrong at. That's the way I see it, and I'm not trying to be cruel.
High frequency radio. Sync up.
Let's use a little common sense for a moment. You want to start a business of your own. You need money to do so. Let's get out of debt first. Get rid of the student loan, mortgage, taxes, and all other contracts that bind you. Then go to www.newdebtelimination.com. Give me a call, Tarhaka, 904-303-9061. Before you make any donations about anything, let's find out where you're at, and let's go to work eliminating this debt. Contact me, Tarhaka53 at hotmail.com, or call me, 904-303-9061, before 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Peace.
Okay, we're down to the last 10 minutes of the broadcast. If anybody got any questions or comments, go ahead and raise your hand, and I will open up the line so that you get in and let us know what's on your mind. Keep in mind that every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Pacific Standard Time and 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we'll be right here on High Frequency Radio, okay? So make sure that you're here with us. We're going to open up area code 469.
Hey, what's going on, brother Tarhaka? You doing all right today?
Yeah, I'm fine, brother. What's going on?
Not so much, brother. I just had a quick question. What was the date that you did the Right to Travel broadcast?
Man, that's several. Well, which one? You got your speakerphone on? You got to cut your speaker off.
Yeah, I got my speakerphone on because I'm in my truck driving.
Okay, that depends on which one. I done that several Fridays ago. So you're gonna have to go to blogtalkradio.com/high frequency radio, either go over to radiohighfrequency.com. They have a brand new website, and go back through the archives and listen to that broadcast.
Okay, can you save it on that website? Can you download it?
Yeah, you can always download it from Blog Talk Radio, or you can go to Morris Talk Live 100, blogtalkradio.com/Tarhaka, scroll back through my archives and find the same information and download it.
Okay, man. Good show today, bro. Real good show, man.
Okay, well, I appreciate you listening in, man.
All right, man. You have a good day.
All right, brother. Drive safe. All right. Anybody got a question? Now's the time to raise your hand. We're down to 7 minutes and 46 seconds. I'm standing by to open up the line so you can let me know what you think about it and how you see it. And so go ahead and raise your hand. I get it open. We're going to one other thing that I want to mention is we got a part 2 coming tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Blog Talk Radio. And this time we will be going more in depth into the man and woman aspect involving law today, up to date. Okay, but this I had to do this in 2 parts because I want to give you a foundation of what you need to be looking at and what we need to be getting to, and especially the books and stuff that we need to be studying. One other book that I want to mention to you is a book called Stolen Legacy by George G.M. James. Now, I know most brothers and sisters on High Frequency Radio, I know a lot of y'all deal with that law stuff, but we're talking about our ancient stories. Stolen Legacy by George G.M. James, because what we have today is we have people that label themselves as Greeks and are leading the world to believe that in ancient times they was a literate people. I'm sorry, never happened. We got Aristotle, Plato, Socrates, and all of these people. That's his story has told us that these people are responsible for the writings of thousands and thousands of books and manuscripts. But when you do the research, you will discover that there is actually no record of them prior to their teens when they came on the scene. There is absolutely no record whatsoever of them ever been in position or ever done anything to be writing. But we do know that they were students in ancient Kemet. Okay, so when I found that out, now I understand. I don't need to know. But then I also found out the impossibility for these particular so-called scholars to have done what they said they'd done and what they have been attributed and rewarded for doing and being taught in all the colleges and universities and junior high schools and grade schools across the country and having been done this here when they lived in a region that was constantly in war. You couldn't, you ain't even had enough time to think about reading the book with all the chaos was in the region, let alone writing all the books that have been attributed to you. And what has happened is they have taken your ancient African records and they have put their name on it. Now, when they did this, if you go back and read George G.M. James, and he'll tell the truth about the story. And these guys went into their land where they were from and began to teach this information to the people from the land where they came from. And it was so strange to them that one of them was indicted, the other, I think, was sent into exile, and the other committed suicide. Then you walk into a doctor's office, you look over his plaque he has on his wall was called the Hippocratic Oath. That was another guy that have learned from your ancestors, took knowledge from your ancestors, put his name on it, and now he's been held as a father of medicine. That's a lie. So it's important for us to understand who we are so that we can get a realistic look at what's going on and who's on the planet or what contributed to what. We got pyramids in the Atlantic Ocean of your ancestors down there, off the coast of Cuba, off the coast of Florida. We got other remnants of information in the Indian Ocean, discoveries in the Pacific Ocean, all out there, but all of it kept under wraps. We cannot afford to allow you to know who you are and how ancient you are, and then because if we let you go back there, then all you have to do is say, well, look, Mr. President of the United States, this is what I got. I need you to, do what you got to do, man. I want what's right for the man to have. We can't give you that. Unless everybody on the continent that don't look like you migrate off it. Or everybody out of the region. So what we have to do is we have to give you an alternative. And we'll work with you. And we'll be your buddy. And we wish you. We together. And so on and so forth. But anyway, brothers and sisters, we have come down to the last 2 minutes and of the broadcast, and I hope that you all have gotten something out of this broadcast, and we are officially ready to pass the torch on to the next upcoming broadcast on this network. And I thank you all for being here. And keep in mind, tomorrow night catch Morris Talk Live 100 at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you can catch part 2 of this broadcast. If you don't catch part 2 tomorrow night, then you can always go back and re-listen. You can catch my widget over there at newdeadelimination.com, or you can go to blogtalkradio.com/Tarhaka, or just type in the Morris Talk Live 100 in your browser, and you can go back and catch part 2 if you missed that. Okay? And I want to put that out. And I would like to thank you all for being here with us on this show.
High Frequency Radio. Sync up.